Greetings to all. That night transformed everything in ways I could never have anticipated. The tale began with an unassuming plea from my stepmother, Sophia, who asked me to remain at home while my father embarked on his customary fishing expedition. In that moment, it seemed entirely ordinary. Ultimately, it was merely the two of us during the majority of weekends. Yet, I was unaware that this evening would unfold into an experience far exceeding the mundane. A night that would test the boundaries of our relationship and etch an indelible impression upon my soul. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, allowing me to share even more captivating true stories such as this one. Be sure to watch this video all the way through, as the unfolding narrative promises to be truly captivating. The morning enveloped the house in an unusual stillness. The absence of my father's familiar presence cast an unusual silence that lingered in the air. Having just completed my homework, I was poised to unwind when Sophia summoned me into the living room. "Could you assist me with a matter?" Her voice carried a gentle softness. Perhaps a touch too relaxed. Her nervousness was palpable. Yet, the reason eluded me. For a fleeting moment, I found myself pausing. "Absolutely. What is it that you require?" I inquired. She approached the spot where she was seated. Sophia often exuded a serene presence, yet today, an unmistakable shift lingered in the air. Her lips curved into a smile. Yet, within her gaze lay a fervor that sent my heart into a wild flutter. "Please, take a seat," she uttered, gently tapping the cushion beside her. I complied with her request, uncertain of what lay ahead, yet intrigued by the unfolding events. Sophia reclined, her posture relaxed. She crossed her legs, her gaze fixed on me with a newfound intensity that I had never observed before. "You have matured significantly. You're aware of that," she uttered. Her tone danced with a lightness that lifted the spirits. Yet the words carried a weight of unexpressed significance. "You have transformed from the little boy I once knew." My heart fluttered unexpectedly. This was unlike her. We had always maintained a cordial relationship, a relaxed connection. Yet today carried an air of peril. "It seems so." I spoke in a hushed tone, feeling uncertain about how to reply. She inclined her body ever so slightly. Her gaze remained fixed on me. "Truly, I mean it." She was unwavering in her insistence. "There has been a transformation in you. It seems we are both aware of this truth." Her words lingered in the air, sending a shiver coursing down my spine. An unusual tension enveloped the room. I found myself at a loss, unsure of how to shatter the silence. "Sophia, what is it that you are attempting to convey?" I inquired. At last, the question emerged, demanding to be voiced. I found myself in need of clarity regarding the unfolding events. The atmosphere was laden with a weight of unsaid thoughts. For a fleeting moment, her silence lingered. She merely cast her gaze in my direction. Gazing into my own depths, I seek the perfect expression. With a soft sigh, she rose to her feet, approaching the window with measured steps. "Your father has departed for the weekend," she spoke in a hushed tone, gazing out into the expanse of the yard. "Only the two of us remain in this space." I inclined my head in agreement, uncertain about the direction this dialogue was taking. Yet, I could sense a knot tightening in my stomach. She pivoted to meet my gaze. Her expression was a mystery, shrouded in silence. "I find myself pondering lately," she commenced. Her voice was calm yet gentle. "There are matters I've been eager to discuss with you." Words that have lingered in the shadows of my thoughts, waiting for the right moment to emerge. I took a deep breath. "What do you mean?" She advanced with deliberate intent. Her gaze captured my own. "Join us," she stated with simplicity. The word lingered in the atmosphere. My heart raced with fervor. What was she suggesting? This was utterly perplexing. I attempted to brush it aside with a laugh. Yet, my voice emerged with a tremor. "Could you clarify what you mean?" "We?" Sophia offered a faint smile. A smile that held a knowing secret, sending a flutter through my stomach. "It hasn't escaped your attention, has it?" "Have you not?" she inquired. Her voice was a whisper, barely audible. "The transformation in our relationship is striking. We have transcended the roles of stepmother and stepson." My thoughts were whirling in a chaotic dance, striving to keep pace with her eloquence. Yet, beneath the surface, I understood precisely what she meant. I had sensed it as well. The delicate exchanges of looks, the lingering caresses. Yet, I consistently set those emotions aside, persuaded that their existence was merely an illusion. "I'm not quite sure I follow your train of thought." I was not truthful. My voice was scarcely a whisper. She advanced even nearer. Her presence was all-consuming. In an instant, the room seemed to shrink around them. "Indeed. You certainly do." She spoke in a gentle whisper. Her fingers grazed softly over my arm. "You experienced it as well." I rose suddenly, departing from her presence, seeking to find clarity in my thoughts. "Sophia, this is utterly astonishing," I declared. My voice quivered. "You are my stepmother. It is not possible. It would be unwise to proceed." Yet she stood her ground. She trailed behind me, bridging the gap that separates us once more. "What's stopping us?" she murmured softly. Her eyes glowed with an intense fire. "We are both grown-ups. We are not bound by the dictates of others." I gently shook my head, struggling against the magnetic force that beckoned me nearer to her. "This simply isn't correct." I was adamant. Even as the words escaped my lips, my determination began to wane. "Yet, what if it truly is?" she responded with a rebuttal. Her hand extended, brushing softly against my cheek. The touch ignited a spark within me. In that fleeting instant, I found myself utterly still, caught in the intricate tapestry she was crafting around us. I intended to refuse in order to distance myself from her, to flee the room and erase this moment from memory. Yet, I found myself unable to do so. A force held me firmly in place, and I loathed myself for it. A nagging sensation lingered, as if everything was slipping through my fingers, descending into chaos. The atmosphere within the house thickened with an almost palpable tension. Each time I laid eyes on Sophia, the unspoken words hung heavily in the air, a palpable weight that bore down on me, choking my breath. Yet, I found myself at a loss, unsure of how to face it or halt the gradual decline. An unavoidable force drawing us both into perilous territory. The days melded into one another. Each encounter seemed imbued with significance. It felt as though we were traversing a razor's edge. I made an effort to maintain my distance, steering clear of solitary moments with her whenever feasible. Yet, it proved to be a challenging endeavor. She had an uncanny ability to draw near, no matter the distance, to assert her presence. Be it a light brush of fingers against the arm or the manner in which she gazed at me from across the room. It had always existed in the shadows. The persistent tension lingered, an unyielding presence that would not dissipate. Then arrived the night when everything transformed. My father was toiling away into the late hours. I found myself attempting to remain secluded in my room. I held on to the hope that by keeping my distance from her, I could somehow escape the inevitable. Life would return to its usual rhythm. Yet, beneath the surface, I was certain that would never come to pass. I could hear her shuffling about downstairs. The gentle murmur of the television fills the air, a soft backdrop to the unfolding moments. The clock's relentless ticking echoed through the room, a constant reminder of time's passage. Every second stretches endlessly, rendering the truth increasingly difficult to overlook. I contemplated reaching out to a friend, crafting a reason to depart. Yet, an invisible force restrained me from reaching for the phone. Rather, there I was, poised just beyond the threshold of my room, attuning to the stillness that enveloped the home. The silence was palpable, excessively motionless. It was at that moment I resolved to take a step that would alter the course of my life forever. I descended the staircase. With every step, a weightier burden seemed to settle in. Sophia reclined on the couch, lost in her thoughts. She held a glass of wine delicately in her hand. Her eyes wandered, lost in the flickering images of the television. At first, she failed to notice my presence. Perhaps she did, after all. Yet feigned ignorance. At the foot of the stairs, I paused, uncertainty gripping me, at a loss for words or actions. Yet, in that moment, she lifted her gaze. Our gazes intertwined. In that moment, I realized the path ahead was irrevocable. "Rest eludes me?" she inquired. Her voice was gentle. Perhaps a touch too laid back. Her words carried a weight that sent a thrill through my veins, just as it did on that very first day. "Indeed," I muttered softly. I find myself hesitant to utter another word. I made my way to the couch and settled into its embrace, creating an expanse of distance between us. Yet, despite that distance, the air was heavy with unvoiced tension. We lingered in quietude for a brief interlude. The sole sound was the soft hum of the television. Her gaze was palpable, a silent weight upon my shoulders. Her gaze held on to me, sending a shiver across my skin. Uncertainty enveloped me, leaving me at a loss for direction, uncertain of how to shatter the stillness without exacerbating the situation. Yet, just before I found the words to speak once more, she found her voice. "Thoughts of us have been occupying my mind." She spoke in a gentle whisper. Her voice hovered just above a whisper. My heart fluttered unexpectedly. "Sophia, it is not possible." I commenced my journey. Yet, she interrupted me before I could complete my thought. "What holds us back?" she inquired. She turned to face me completely. "Why do we feign ignorance of the undeniable connection that exists between us, when deep down, we both recognize its presence?" Her words struck me with a profound intensity. I felt compelled to engage in a debate, to inform her that she had erred, that we were unable to traverse this path. Yet, the reality was, the will to resist had finally ebbed away from me. I had sensed it as well. The peculiar attraction between us had only intensified. I had made an effort to overlook it, persuade myself that it was merely an illusion. However, at this moment, here I am, seated beside her. The truth was undeniable at this point. "This is not something we can accomplish," I declared, even though my voice was devoid of certainty. As I uttered those words, I was aware they were fabrications. She drew nearer. Her hand lay gently on the cushion that separated us. "We are not engaging in any wrongdoing," she murmured softly. Her voice was deep and charged with emotion. "We are causing no harm to anyone." I gently shook my head, attempting to dispel the haze that has enveloped my mind. "Yet, it feels unjust." I presented my case with little conviction. Her fingers brushed against my own, a gentle connection that sparked an unspoken understanding between us. Her touch ignited a surge of electricity within me. "Who determines the boundaries of right and wrong?" she inquired. Her eyes remained fixed on me. I took a deep breath. My heart is racing. I felt the urge to distance myself, to urge her to cease. Yet, I found myself unable to do so. I found myself paralyzed, ensnared by the present, by the emotions I had suppressed for an eternity. "We are not bound by the dictates of others," she murmured softly. Her fingers danced lightly, etching delicate patterns on the back of my hand. "We hold the power to determine what is just and true for ourselves." With my eyes gently shut, I surrendered to the moment, struggling to silence her voice, the sensation of her caress. Yet, it proved futile. The barriers I had constructed to shield my heart were beginning to fall apart. I found myself at a loss, unable to find a way to halt its relentless advance. Before I had the chance to utter a word, before I could muster the resolve to break free, she drew nearer. Her lips grazed my ear as she murmured softly, "Confess that you don't sense it as well." Her words coursed through me, igniting a chill that danced along my spine. And I loathed the way my body reacted to her. How deeply I yearned to surrender. I parted my lips to voice my objection, to convey to her that this was incorrect, that we were unable to accomplish this. Yet, silence enveloped the moment. Rather, I turned to face her. My breath hitched in my throat as our gazes intertwined. Time seemed to elongate. The tension between us thickens with every fleeting second. And then, in a moment of spontaneity, devoid of foresight, I drew closer and pressed my lips against hers. Initially, it possessed a gentle quality. Uncertain. It felt as if we were both cautiously exploring the depths, in a state of uncertainty about the unfolding events that lay ahead. Yet, the kiss swiftly intensified. The tension between us intensified as we surrendered to the longing that had been simmering for an eternity. My hands gently settled on her waist. Drawing her nearer, my fingers entwined in her hair. The surroundings faded into oblivion. We remained, just the two of us, enveloped in the fervor of the moment. I was acutely aware of its wrongness. We understood that we were traversing a boundary from which there would be no return. Yet, I found myself unable to cease. I was reluctant to bring it to an end. As the kiss deepened, a whirlwind of 1,000 conflicting thoughts surged through my mind. I was acutely aware of the peril that lay ahead. We understood that we were toying with danger. Yet, within me lingered a fragment that remained indifferent, a fragment that had yearned for this far longer than I was prepared to acknowledge. As we finally separated, we were both panting, our breaths coming in quick, heavy bursts, our faces mere inches away from each other. Her eyes held a deep, shadowy hue, brimming with an indescribable essence, and I understood that our relationship had irrevocably changed. "This desire has lingered within me for an eternity," she murmured softly. Her breath lingered, warm upon my skin. "And I am aware that you have as well." I chose not to reply. I was unable to. The reality was overwhelming for me to bear. Excessively daunting. Rather, I merely inclined my head in acknowledgement. My heart raced, the gravity of our recent actions pressing down upon me. Yet, even at that moment, I was certain that the end had not yet arrived. The kiss was merely the prologue. There existed further depths. There would perpetually be an abundance. Following that evening, all dynamics shifted in our relationship. My perception of Sophia had irrevocably shifted. Whenever our gazes intertwined, a wave of warmth surged through me. A recollection of our past actions, intertwined with the silent vow of possibilities yet to unfold. The atmosphere within the house felt electrified, brimming with an unsettling tension. It was an unspoken truth between us, a shared understanding we both felt but hesitated to voice aloud. Days drifted by, charged with intensity. The air hung heavy with an uncomfortable stillness. I maintained my distance as much as possible. Yet, evading her entirely proved to be an insurmountable challenge. Each delicate stroke of her hand, each fleeting look was akin to a spark, poised to set ablaze the tension that quietly bubbled just below the surface. I was acutely aware that what was unfolding was far from just. Yet, an undeniable force drew us together, one that I found impossible to overlook. Regardless of my efforts. One afternoon, while my father was away once more, the stillness within the walls of the house weighed heavily, an oppressive presence that seemed to echo through every room. I found myself wandering restlessly through the living room, seeking solace in the flickering images of the television. Yet, my mind continually wandered back to her. That kiss lingers in my mind. The sensation of her lips pressed softly against my own. The manner in which my heart had quickened. The weight of it all was overwhelming. I loathed myself for even entertaining the thought. Yet, I found myself unable to cease. Just when I believed I was on the brink of losing my sanity, I sensed her footsteps trailing behind me. As I glanced over, I found Sophia poised in the doorway. Her expression was a mystery, shrouded in ambiguity. In a fleeting instant, silence enveloped us. The air crackled with unspoken tension between us, burdened by the weight of unspoken words. "It is imperative that we have a conversation." At last, she spoke. Her voice was a whisper, barely audible. Somewhat reluctant, I inclined my head in acknowledgement, understanding that this dialogue was bound to happen, even if I had not yet prepared myself for it. "Indeed," I concurred. "My throat feels constricted." "Indeed, we do." She strolled over to the couch, settling into a chair with a deep exhale. I pursued, seated opposite her, maintaining a measured separation. My heart raced within my chest. Yet, I found myself unable to meet her gaze. Uncertainty loomed over me as I pondered the beginning. I found myself at a loss for words that could possibly improve this situation. "It is clear that circumstances have shifted," she commenced. Her hands rested gently in her lap. "I wish for you to feel at ease. That is the very last thing I desire." I took a deep breath. "My mouth is parched." Uncertainty clouds my emotions, I confessed. My voice hovered just above a whisper. What I mean is, this is not typical. Isn't that so? We are not meant to experience these emotions. Sophia cast her gaze upon her hand. Her expression was one of deep concern. I am aware. She spoke in a gentle whisper. However, it is not an issue we can simply overlook. Is it possible for us? I found myself at a loss for words in response to her. The reality was, I was uncertain about what was expected of us. All seemed amiss. Yet concurrently, a fragment of my being yearned for it to continue unabated. It defied explanation. It defied all logic. Yet, the emotions lingered beneath the surface. Inarguably authentic. She adjusted her position on the couch, inclining slightly forward. That night lingers in my thoughts constantly. She revealed her truth. Her voice lingered just above a whisper. It occupies my thoughts incessantly. My breath hitched in my throat. I wished to convey to her that she was not alone in her thoughts. I had pondered it as well. It lingered in my thoughts, casting a shadow over each moment I was awake. Yet, I found myself unable to utter those words. Rather, I merely inclined my head. My heart is racing. A lengthy silence enveloped us, heavy with the unspoken truths that lingered between us. The tension began to mount once more. The very perilous allure that had initially guided us along this route. And then, before I could intervene, I proclaimed, I ponder it as well. The words slipped from my lips, escaping before I had a chance to retract them. And once they had been uttered, they were irrevocable. Sophia's gaze darted upward to connect with mine. In that fleeting instant, I understood that retreat was no longer an option. We had traversed a boundary, and now we found ourselves poised on the brink of something far more perilous. At first, she remained silent. Yet, the expression in her gaze revealed all that I sought to understand. There was a warmth present. A longing that reflected my own. It filled me with dread. Yet concurrently, it stirred something within me that I couldn't ignore. This cannot continue, I declared. My voice trembles. Yet, even as those words escaped my lips, doubt lingered in my mind, casting shadows over my belief. Sophia's eyes remained fixed on me. I am aware, she murmured softly. Yet, we find ourselves in this very moment. Are we not? The space seemed constricted. The air hung heavy. I felt an urge to run. To create an expanse that separates us to the greatest extent. Yet, I found myself unable to stir. I found myself ensnared, not by her, yet driven by my own yearnings. The attraction between us was undeniable. Irresistibly overwhelming. Before I grasped the unfolding events, she inclined her body forward. Her face hovers just inches from mine. Her breath brushed against my skin, a whisper of warmth that lingered in the air, cozy and gentle. My heart raced within my chest. In the briefest of moments, I believed I could intervene, to withdraw and conclude this before it progressed any deeper. Yet, in that moment, her lips found their way to mine. In that moment, every semblance of reason vanished into thin air. This kiss held a different essence than before. It was neither hesitant nor unsure. The air was thick with the tension we had long suppressed, a longing that had been simmering for an eternity. Without a moment's hesitation, I kissed her back. My hands lie gently upon the couch, clutching the material to anchor myself in reality. It transcended the realms of love or affection. It revolved around necessity, an unquenchable, searing desire that was beyond our grasp. My heart quickened. My thoughts swirled in a haze, elusive and beyond my reach. In this moment, all that I understood was this. The path ahead was irrevocably set. As we ultimately separated, we were both left gasping for air. Our foreheads gently touching, a moment suspended in time. The gravity of our recent actions lingered palpably in the atmosphere. Yet, neither of us made a move to shatter the stillness of that moment. We must bring this to a halt. I repeated myself once more, even though my voice faltered. Devoid of certainty. Sophia inclined her head in agreement. Her breath lingered, warm upon my skin. I am aware. She murmured softly. Yet, it feels incredibly challenging. Is it not? I chose to remain silent. The silence hung heavy, with no words remaining to bridge the chasm between them. We found ourselves ensnared in the intricate web of our own making. Yet, despite our countless reassurances to ourselves that we must cease, the magnetic force between us continually drew us back into each other's orbit. And that was the moment it all changed. Once more, she leaned into me. Yet, we found ourselves unable to resist. Everything unfolded in an instant. It was an exhilarating experience for me. She appeared indifferent when it had concluded. Her smile graced my presence. She informed me that she found it immensely enjoyable. In the ensuing days, time seemed to slip away in a haze. We endeavored to maintain a facade of normalcy, attempted to feign that all was as it had been. Yet, the tension that lingered between us was unmistakable. Each moment I laid eyes on her, a familiar wave of warmth washed over me. The same perilous allure. We seemed to be orbiting one another, anticipating the instant when we would surrender once more. It was clear to me that time was the only factor left to consider. As dusk settled in, when my father was away late for work in the heart of the home, I discovered my presence within the kitchen. In an effort to divert my thoughts, I find myself immersed in the art of preparing dinner. Yet, the stillness within the house was overwhelming. Yet, my mind wandered aimlessly. Each sound reverberated through the air, bringing to mind the gravity of our actions. Initially, her entrance went unnoticed by me. Yet, as I pivoted, there she stood, resting against the door frame, gazing at me with that ever-elusive expression. "Do you require assistance?" she inquired. Her voice was relaxed. Yet, beneath the surface, an undercurrent stirred, quickening my pulse. "Negative. I am well," I declared. Even as my hands trembled, she approached me with a graceful stride, positioned in proximity. Her presence was all-consuming. "Do you truly believe that?" I gulped with difficulty, endeavoring to explore my own depths. "Sophia, it is not possible." I embarked on my journey. Yet she interrupted me. "There is no obligation for us to take any action." She spoke in a gentle whisper. Her gaze was fixed upon me. "Yet, I believe we are both aware of the direction this is heading." The words lingered in the air between us, weighty and conclusive. I felt compelled to engage in a debate, felt compelled to express that she was mistaken. Yet, I found myself unable to, for within me lay a profound truth. She was undeniably correct. We lingered in quietude. The distance that once separated us diminishes with each fleeting moment. And then, before I realized it, once more, her lips found mine in a tender embrace. It happened in an instant, nearly ephemeral. Yet, it was sufficient to rekindle all that we had endeavored to suppress. My heart raced within my chest, and I understood that this was merely the dawn of something greater. The ensuing weeks unfolded in a haze of clandestine encounters and ephemeral looks exchanged in silence. It felt as though one existed in two distinct realms. A place where all appeared to be as it should, and another instance where Sophia and I teetered on the brink of an uncontrollable force. The burden of our secret felt immense. Yet, we found ourselves irresistibly drawn to one another. Regardless of how often I reassured myself that it had to come to an end, it was imperative that we put an end to it. It continued to occur. Whenever my father departed for work or lingered out late into the evening, the tension that existed between us intensified. I would find myself sharing the same space with her. In silence, without uttering a single word, we were both aware of what lay ahead. It was chilling to realize how effortlessly we had descended into this. Each caress, each glance seemed to transport us across an unseen boundary. Still, it was never sufficient to cause either of us to retreat. Rather, we found ourselves drawn closer together. It felt as though an unseen force, greater than ourselves, was leading us along this journey. On a Saturday afternoon, the atmosphere within the house hung heavily, almost palpable. My father was attending a company event and wouldn't return until the late hours. The moment I awoke that morning, I sensed a palpable shift in the air, the hushed expectancy that had grown all too commonplace. As the hours slipped away, an unsettling sensation lingered, as if the air itself was charged with the anticipation of an impending event, a point of no return. As I entered the kitchen, I found Sophia immersed in her tasks. She stood at the sink, her back turned to me as she washed the dishes. Yet, she seemed aware of my presence, for she did not flinch as I stepped inside. I lingered by the door, observing her for a fleeting moment. At a loss for words or actions. The peculiar dance we found ourselves ensnared in had morphed into a familiar ritual. I was intimately familiar with the steps. She shut off the faucet, her hands glistening with droplets as she dried them on a towel, then turned to face me. Just for a moment. Silence enveloped us. The silence resonated with an intensity that was almost deafening, brimming with unspoken words. "Are you doing all right?" she inquired. Her voice was gentle. Her gaze sought out mine. I was not. It had been some time since my last visit. Yet, how could I possibly confess that? How can I articulate the tempest that churns within me? The unending struggle between righteousness and wrongdoing? I am uncertain. At long last, I have crafted my response. My voice was scarcely a whisper. Sophia approached me with a purposeful stride. Halting mere feet from the destination. "Contemplation has occupied my mind," she commenced. Her words flowed with a measured cadence, each one carefully chosen. "Perhaps it's time we delve into the events that have unfolded." I felt a surge of tension coursing through me. I find myself uncertain about the desire to engage in this dialogue. What could possibly be expressed that our actions had not already conveyed? Yet she remained resolute. Yet, I was acutely aware that evasion was not a viable option for eternity. "What is there to discuss?" I inquired. My heart pounds with urgency. With a soft exhale, she let out a sigh. She pressed the back of her hand against her forehead. "I'm uncertain. Perhaps it's time to contemplate the direction in which this is heading. We cannot continue to exist in this manner, feigning ignorance to the unfolding reality." She was indeed correct. Yet, I found myself unwilling to listen. "Where do you envision it heading?" I inquired. My voice cut through the air, more piercing than I had meant it to be. Sophia flinched ever so slightly, yet her gaze remained unwavering. "I am uncertain," she confessed. "Yet, I am aware that we can no longer dance delicately around the issue." I swept my fingers through my hair, frustration simmering within me. "What is it that you seek from me?" I lost my composure. Not due to any anger I felt towards her. Yet, I too found myself without the answers. "Are you asking me to express that this is acceptable? That I am perfectly content with it? For that reason, I am not. I find myself at odds with all of this." Her demeanor softened as she moved in closer, bridging the gap that separates us. "I don't want you to accept it without question," she spoke softly. "I simply wish for you to embrace honesty within yourself. Alongside me." Her words struck me with the force of a blow to the abdomen, for I understood precisely what she was conveying. For an extended period, I had been deceiving myself. Persuading myself that this was merely a transient moment, one that would fade away if we simply turned a blind eye for long enough. Yet, the reality was, she lingered in my thoughts, an unshakable presence that consumed my mind. My desire for her was insatiable, and the more I struggled against it, its power grew ever more formidable. "I am uncertain about how to proceed with that," I confessed. My voice falters. "I find myself at a loss when it comes to expressing the truth of this matter." Sophia extended her hand, softly resting upon my arm. A tremor coursed through me at the contact, and I loathed the depth of my desire for it. "It's all right," she murmured softly. Her eyes brimmed with comprehension. "Together, we shall unravel the solution." Her voice, laced with sincerity, shattered something deep within me, and before I realized it, I drew her nearer, pressing my lips to hers as if it were the sole anchor in my tumultuous world. This moment, the kiss unfolded with a deliberate grace, neither rushed nor frantic. It unfolded with a measured pace, each moment carefully considered. It felt as though we were both grasping at something elusive, slipping away from our grasp. As we finally separated, her forehead gently pressed against my own. We remained there, enveloped in silence. The air around us thickened as our breaths intertwined in the intimate space that separated us. Her heartbeat pulsed rapidly, a chaotic rhythm echoing in the stillness, aligning with my own. "What are our current endeavors?" I murmured. "There is a greater depth within me than what I reveal to her. I'm uncertain." Her response was gentle. Yet, I find myself unable to cease. I couldn't either. With each passing day, we descended further into the depths of whatever this was. The moments we shared deepened with an undeniable intensity, increased frequency, until it seemed that the sole moments I genuinely inhabited my true self were in her presence. I was aware that it was destined to end. I was aware that a breaking point was inevitable. However, I found myself unprepared to confront that reality just yet. As the sun dipped below the horizon one evening, all fell apart. As I settled into the cozy embrace of the living room, I found myself enveloped in a moment of quiet contemplation. The television flickered to life, yet silenced. My mind wanders to distant realms. Sophia occupied the upstairs, while my father was expected to be out late once more. Yet, I found myself oblivious to the passage of time. I found myself ensnared in the labyrinth of my own thoughts, reflecting on all that we had accomplished and all that we were unable to reverse. The creak of the front door swinging open jolted me from my reverie. In that fleeting instant, I found myself paralyzed. A surge of panic swells within my chest. To my surprise, my dad arrived home much earlier than I had anticipated. I hurriedly rose to my feet. Yet, just before I could respond, he stepped into the living room. His gaze swept across the room before finally resting on me. "Greetings," he remarked. His voice was relaxed, yet tinged with an elusive quality that I couldn't fully identify. "What occupies your time at this moment?" "Merely indulging in some television viewing," I responded. My voice constricted, struggling to conceal the rising tide of anxiety. My heart raced with an intensity that was almost palpable. The guilt gnaws at me, sharp and electric. He appeared oblivious. Perhaps he was aware yet opted to turn a blind eye to it. He settled into the couch. As I navigated the channels, it felt like just another ordinary night. I endeavored to soothe my restless mind, to assure myself that all was well. Yet, the burden of our concealed truths bore heavily upon me, choking the very breath from my lungs. Moments later, Sophia descended the stairs, her expression meticulously composed. She greeted my dad as if everything was perfectly fine. As if everything was perfectly normal. Yet, I could perceive the tension in her eyes, evident in the way her hands fidgeted at her sides. The dinner that evening was a tormenting affair. The dialogue felt awkward and constrained. Whenever my father spoke, the walls seemed to constrict around me, an oppressive reminder of my confinement. My eyes avoided Sophia's gaze. All I could concentrate on was the knot of fear constricting in my chest. I had hoped we could navigate the evening without any disruptions. Perhaps we had succeeded in maintaining the facade for yet another evening. As we began to clear the table, my father abruptly shifted his gaze toward me. His expression remained a mystery. "It seems you've been dedicating quite a bit of your time to Sophia recently," he uttered. His voice was steady yet inquisitive. My heart came to a standstill. My eyes flickered toward Sophia, who had turned ashen. Her eyes were wide, brimming with fear. "I suppose." I stumbled over my words, striving to maintain a calm and unwavering tone. My father's eyes held mine for what felt like an eternity. The atmosphere in the room seemed to change, palpable and electric. "Is there something you wish to share with me?" he inquired. His tone remained relaxed. Yet, within it lay an element that sent a chill coursing through my veins. I parted my lips to offer a reply. Yet, silence enveloped the moment. Thoughts surged through my mind like a whirlwind in pursuit of something elusive. Anything that could erase this entirely. Yet, the words eluded me. I found myself unable to deceive. Not when the truth lingered in the atmosphere that surrounded us. On the brink of revelation, Sophia's hand grazed against mine beneath the table. A quiet request. Yet, it only deepened the burden of guilt. Negative. At last, I breathed my words softly. My voice was scarcely a whisper. Silence reigns. My father remained silent for what felt like an eternity. He merely gazed at me with those enigmatic eyes. Amidst the stillness, I was aware that he was aware as well. As I lingered in that moment, the intensity of his stare bore down upon me. I came to understand that there was no evading the path that had already been set in motion. Even in silence, the words lingered unvoiced. The truth lingered, unwavering. Anticipating. It would pursue me relentlessly, no matter my efforts to escape its grasp.